I'm Fred Di Profio, winemaker at Pondview Estate Winery, and today we're out in our Cabernet Sauvignon block in the plains of Niagara-on-the-Lake. These vines will produce fruit that ultimately will end up in our Bellaterra series. Only the very, very best fruit and batches will go into those bottles. What we're looking at here is ultimately a plant, and like all plants, they're rooted in the ground, and the roots take up water, and the leaves capture carbon from the atmosphere, and with the help of the energy of the sun, they produce carbohydrates or sugars. And these sugars go to various parts of the plant. They go into helping the plant grow bigger, more leaves, making the trunk bigger, making the root system bigger. But the sugar also goes, in the case of fruiting plants, to the fruit. And the fruit is down here. As I mentioned, this is Cabernet Sauvignon, so you might be wondering, well, why is it green? It should be red, right? Well, it's now mid-July and it's still fairly early in the growing season. These will turn red later in August. But what causes the redness? You know, if these are just plants and they're producing sugar, what about the rest of it? I mean, grapes are more than just sugar and acid. There are also things called secondary metabolites, and the pigments are part of that group, as are all the flavorants. You know, what makes the wine taste the way it does. So if we just let a vine go, it'll pretty much focus on making itself bigger, on you know, putting some sugar and acid into the fruit, make a very basic fruit. So what we need to do with a vine is essentially convince it that it's dying. And this puts stress on the plant, and the plant wants to, under those conditions, make really good fruit. So a lot of what we do as wine growers is to stress the plant to the point where it's going to produce high quality fruit, but not to the point where we actually put the plant in real danger of dying. The first way we do this is wintertime, when we prune. If you don't prune a vine, it won't produce fruit. It won't even produce mediocre fruit. If you don't prune it and it's got sufficient nutrient and water in the soil while it's growing, it'll just keep growing, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, more and more leaves. So by pruning it, that's the first indication that this vine has that, ooh, you know, I can't just keep growing, so I better produce some fruit. And the number of buds that we leave when we prune essentially determines the size that that vine can attain during the growing season. Over the years, we've come up with formulas on exactly how many buds to prune a vine to. That's the first way we stress the vine. While the vine is growing, we can stress it in other ways. One of the ways is to limit its water. So, and that's really kind of a passive thing. We got to find the proper sites that will naturally limit the water. So we look at soil types and soil water holding capacities in the soil. This soil here is a clay loam, about 18 inches deep over hard clay. So really the roots of the vines, they're happy in the clay loam, and they can spread within the limits of their neighbor vines and on all sides. And they can only go so deep, because once they hit the clay, the roots have a tough time penetrating that. So that's the first way we limit the water of a vine, is by selecting the right sites. about 3 feet under the middle of the row. There's drainage pipes in every row. And what that does is after a heavy rainfall, the water will penetrate the ground and excess water will be transmitted through the pipes and out ultimately to Lake Ontario. So deciding where to plant the vines is the first way that we can ensure that we're going to get the best quality fruit. There are other things we do in the vineyard to ensure that year after year these vines produce the best quality fruit and the best quality wine. Another way we do that, again in the vein of stressing the vine, we also plant in the middle of the row because the vine roots actually go way out here. And we plant primarily grasses in the middle of the row, and grasses with deep roots to compete for water and nutrients, right? So we don't want the vine being too happy. It'll get too big. So that's another way we do it. Other things we do to ensure high quality is we, especially on our reds, is we pull leaves around the fruit. So it's kind of hard to see the fruit until we do this. And what this does is allows the sunlight to get into the fruiting zone. The fruit is always down a little bit lower here, right? So we want the leaves to be able to capture the sunlight up here, and we want the sunlight to reach the fruit to aid in the ripening and also to keep it nice and dry. Nice and dry. We like it to be dry in the fruit zone to avoid any funguses growing in here. So we just take out some leaves, and we got plenty of leaves up top to support this fruit. We'll also hedge the vines when they get too tall. That puts some more stress on the vines. So they say, okay, well, yeah, we can't produce any more leaves. Let's put more of those sugars and make more flavor and some deeper color. So when they do turn color, we have to take some measures to discourage, especially the birds, from taking our fruit before we can make wine out of it. We have various methods for scaring them away. As a winemaker, I love this block. It produces such consistently great wine year after year. Part of that is due to the vine age. They're approaching 20 years now. They're getting into their prime, but a lot of it is due to the care that the people in the vineyard, the people working in the vineyard, including our owner, Lou Puglisi, the care they put in at every step of this vine's development, from pruning to leaf pulling to hedging to just generally taking care of this vine, making sure that it's happy but not too happy.